Most people, after they complete a mission in GTA 5, just run off with whatever character they finish the mission with, ready to find their next adventure. The result of this is that few get to see all the unique character switch scenes that happen after some missions.
Lester better play it right with that idol.
These are specifically for any main character that appeared in the mission you just did, and they often give special commentary on the events that just happened. So for example, if you finish a mission as Michael, but Trevor appeared in the mission, if you switch to him, you'll have a unique scene where Trevor will give some commentary on the events that just happened. But if Franklin wasn't in that prior mission, then if you switch to him, he'll just get a generic scene, because why would he need a special one? He has nothing to say, as he didn't do anything just prior. The purpose of this video is to showcase all these special scenes, which will give us the chance to judge how well they tie back into the prior mission. To spoil things a bit, some of these switch scenes make no sense and likely relate to cut content. While I will be going chronologically through the game, I will skip some missions, specifically those where only one character appears, as understandably there are no special switch scenes at the end of those missions. The mission Complications, where Franklin steals back a car from Michael's house, is the first mission where we can switch characters. As we finish the mission with Michael, Franklin gets a special switch scene. The last time we see Franklin in the mission is when Michael is telling him to leave, and then he runs off.
I always trump big for a job well done. Now get out of here, kid.
Say again? How the fuck we get fired?
Man, it was partly all that bullshit you pulled, and partly the repo's old man making me crash the car into the dealership.
Ha! You the crazy ass motherfucker in this partnership. You better spin him while you got him.
Yeah, if you say so.
Franklin's location does make sense, as it's just a small distance away from where we saw him running off. The only issue with the dialogue is that we don't see Simeon actually fire them both. Simeon does speak aggressively in a phone call, as well as after Franklin crashes the car.
Franklin! What the fuck are you doing?
But he doesn't explicitly fire them in either case. I guess we're meant to assume that immediately after Michael left, Simeon called Franklin and fired them both, and then Franklin called Lamar to tell him. Given what happened, it does make sense that Simeon would have done that. Moving on to father-son, after Franklin and Michael rescue Jimmy, Franklin takes Jimmy home. As we finish the mission with Franklin, Michael gets a unique switch scene, and we last see him in the mission getting into a taxi.
Hey, sorry we didn't get your boat, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man, let's trick this whip, homie.
It's fine right here, thanks.
On the surface, this is fairly uninteresting. We don't get any real dialogue from Michael, and in the mission we saw him get into a taxi, so of course after the mission we saw him get out of the taxi. But we can dig a little deeper. Rockstar did go the effort to make sure that the driver of the taxi in the cutscene was the same driver as the one outside of the mission. However, the taxi itself is not the same between the two scenes. For a few frames in the cutscene, you can see a small portion of the number plate, and it does not match the number plate of the taxi at the end. Different versions of the game do show you more or less of the number plate, but you can tell that the number plate is different each time. Using mods, we can see that the number plates are random in and out of the mission. So as this taxi is not the same one as the cutscene, it is technically a small error. You might question how a taxi conveniently showed up to pick up Michael, but this is explained just prior.
Franklin, do me a favor, call me a taxi, will you?
No problem. I need a cab as soon as you can send one. Los Santos Customs, by the airport. All right, thanks.
Thanks, man.
Franklin here does showcase an ability that we don't have as players. We only have the option to call a taxi to our current location, while Franklin called a taxi for somewhere else. Michael being dropped off at a random location in the city is also given no justification. It's especially weird considering he said he would meet Franklin at the house.
You stop back out to the house, we'll talk.
I think it's likely that Rockstar saw that Franklin ended the mission at Michael's house and decided that it would be boring for the player to have both characters in the same location, and so put Michael out into the city. On marriage counseling, Franklin and Michael pull down Martin Madrazo's house and become indebted to him. Michael says he needs to make some money to pay him back, so he'll call his old friend Lester. After the mission pass screen, we find ourselves later as Michael making the call in a park. As we finish the mission with Michael, Franklin gets a unique switch, and we last see him saying goodbye to Michael at his house.
Just give me a little alone time, alright?
Alright, dawg. Martin Madrazo? What the fuck I get myself into?
The dialogue here is fine, but Franklin's location doesn't make any sense. Michael managed to walk into his garage, get into his car, drive down the street, and then end up in the middle of the city to get out of his car and have an entire phone call in the time it took Franklin just to drive down the street. I suspect Rockstar saw how much time we were spending in and around Michael's house in the early missions, and so put Michael somewhere else to call Lester so the players could see more of the city. It also had the added benefit that we were closer to the next mission as well. They either didn't notice, or frankly didn't care, that Franklin's location no longer made sense if Michael was out into the city. The jewel store job is a bit different from normal missions that contain multiple characters. You technically end the mission as Michael, so Michael does not get a unique switch scene, but after the mission pass screen, we are automatically switched to Franklin and are given a scene of him at the strip club. This scene is actually Franklin's unique switch scene, and the last we see of Franklin in the mission itself is Michael telling Franklin to meet him at his house later.
I want you to stop by the house a little later on. We'll celebrate, all right?
All right.
Okay.
I don't care if you got money now. Don't you get it? That ain't what I was looking for. Not then, not now, not ever.
I know it ain't important. Just let me take you somewhere nice, all right?
Where are you? Are you in a strip club? Grow up, stop looking for the easy way.
Tanisha, I gotta go, all right? I'ma change, I promise. You won't even recognize me.
Given that the fade to black implies at least some time has passed, it is somewhat plausible for Franklin to be in a strip club. While Lester did explicitly tell him to keep his head down,
So what now?
We get out of here. Keep our heads down.
this doesn't mean Franklin would necessarily do that. Unless by some crazy logic Franklin believed that by being in the strip club he was actually following Lester's guidance. That he was in fact lying low by throwing around money at a strip club and calling his girlfriend and telling her that he'd recently come into a lot of money. Basically, for this to be plausible, either Franklin wasn't doing what he was told to do, or he's simply acting pretty dumb. We get a surprisingly long stretch of missions with just one character, before moving into Fame or Shame, where Trevor reunites with Michael and chases down Laszlo for embarrassing Tracy on TV. As we end with Michael, Trevor gets a unique switch, and we last see him in the mission driving away in the stolen truck.
Oh, shit.
I'm back, motherfucker!
Certainly a fair statement for Trevor to make, as he is back at this point, and it makes sense that he'd still be in the truck. Although I'm not exactly sure where Trevor is meant to be going, as the way he's facing suggests that he left the sewer and then turned around and pointed himself directly back at the sewer. Sadly, this is another case where the vehicle in the cutscene has a different number plate to the vehicle outside the cutscene, suggesting they're not the same vehicle. Next up is Dead Man Walking, where after Michael escapes the IAA building, he has a chat with Franklin at the oil derricks. As we finish the mission with Michael, Franklin gets a special switch scene, and we last see him riding away on his bike. While it makes perfect sense for Franklin to be riding his bike just a bit down the road, this switch is quite strange, as Franklin doesn't say anything. I think an explanation for this is hinted at by the unused switch scene for Michael.
Kid doesn't know what he's getting into.
We see that Michael does have a line that comments on the prior mission, but this scene would only naturally occur if we finish the mission with Franklin. Therefore, it's possible that they originally intended us to complete the mission with him, but they changed it at some point to end with Michael, but they didn't take the time to give Franklin dialogue for his switch scene. Three's Company differs from every mission we've discussed so far, and it's almost unique. The mission involves Franklin, Michael, and Trevor. This is actually the first mission we have involving all three, and it sees the gang break into the IAA building at the direction of the FIB to steal Mr. K. We control Michael at the end of the mission, which suggests Trevor and Franklin should both have special switch scenes. We last see Trevor flying off in his new helicopter at the end of the mission, and if we switch to him, we understandably find him a fair distance away, still in the helicopter.
The FIB, Townley? Why does it not surprise me?
This scene makes sense, especially as Trevor is in the process of stealing this FIB helicopter, so he would naturally be flying it back to his airfield, which is where we can access it for the rest of the game. Franklin, on the other hand, we last see on the helipad, with Michael telling him to vacate the area.
Frank! They ain't got their eyes in the sky. You can clear out of there.
Surprisingly though, this is one of the very rare cases where a character appears in a mission but does not get a special switch scene afterwards. There isn't even any evidence that there was one at some point in development and they cut it. Maybe it's because he technically left earlier in the mission, or due to him being on a helipad, which he realistically had no good way down from. I guess we'll never know. The Mission Hood Safari has easily the most complicated switch scenes of any mission in the game, so bear with me.
You wanna be a greedy fucking cow? Huh? No.
Franklin, Lamar, and Trevor are in a drug deal gone wrong, involving both the Ballers and the police. You can end the mission as either Franklin or Trevor, and you have the option of either fleeing solo, or leaving as a duo, either with Lamar or the character you don't control. When we escape solo, as either Franklin or Trevor, we last see the character that we don't control also fleeing from the cops solo, and after the mission, they of course have a unique switch scene.
Someone had to call the cops.
The life of a gangbanger.
With the solo ending, Franklin and Trevor can be both found in the same 4 locations. Obviously, it's the other character that we didn't use to complete the mission that we find here, and they both make the same statement regardless of location.
The life of a gangbanger.
What Franklin says seems to be just a basic reference to the cops appearing on the mission. What Trevor says, on the other hand, seems to be a reference to what he said in the opening cutscene.
Fucking beautiful. Perfect. It's a gangbang. Let's go. Come on.
Given that we last saw them fleeing from the police, it is understandable that we see them hiding from the police just a little bit away from where we left them. Leaving with Lamar doesn't change anything about the prior switches I showed you, but this isn't the case if they leave with each other. First, here's playing as Franklin and leaving with Trevor.
Let's take these assholes right here, me and you. Dawg, it don't need to come to that. Look, just stick with me, all right?
Up here's as good as anywhere, bro. Just drop me off.
So, look, man, I guess we know each other now, right?
That we do, bro. I'll see ya.
Ending as Franklin and dropping off Trevor doesn't result in Trevor getting a special switch. He instead gets a generic switch at the strip club, which makes sense as that's where you dropped him off.
Titties, titties, titties!
Now here is playing as Trevor and leaving with Franklin.
Up here, man, come on. How we gonna do this?
I got an idea, kid. Stay close. Hey, kid, if you can keep up, stay with me.
This is cool just up here. So, look, man, I guess we know each other now, right?
That we do, bro. I'll see ya.
When you finish as Trevor and take Franklin with you, you will always drop him at his first safe house, even if you've already completed the first assassination mission, causing Franklin to move to his other house. And he too doesn't get a special switch, he just gets any of his generic switches that have him in the city.
Hey, I'm going, man, before you take advantage.
While the dialogue with both endings is suitable for this point in the story, it is still strange that they both don't get a unique switch. As for why they were dropped off at these 2 destinations, I think they were just chosen due to their closer proximity to the earlier mission scenes compared to other further away options. In by the book, Trevor and Steve torture Mr. K to give Michael and Dave information to enable them to assassinate the correct target. As we finish the mission with Trevor, we get a special switch with Michael, who we last saw in the mission with Dave, reporting a successful kill.
Davey, I got someone.
Good enough for me. Steve, it's done.
Later, Dave. A whole lot later, I hope.
This scene shows Michael driving past the FIB building while saying goodbye to Dave, which makes sense considering that in the mission Michael was driving Dave around. It seems as though Michael was kind enough to drive Dave back to work after their assassination. Honestly, I see this as a nice little detail. In the Merryweather freighter approach, Franklin supports Michael as he explodes the freighter, allowing its cargo to fall in the ocean and Trevor to grab the device. As we finish with Trevor, Michael and Franklin get a unique switch, and we last see them in the mission, finishing a discussion with Trevor.
Come on, Franklin.
You owe me, Michael. I am owed. What you gonna do, huh?
I'll think of something. I gotta get Franklin some work, too. I'll take this.
Yeah. Lots of mouths to feed, amigo.
Tell me about it. What a fucking loon. Classic.
Nukes? Man, that dude is loco.
On a surface level, it makes sense for Michael and Franklin to be just up the road if they drove away, but there are some issues. While normally I'd say it's silly to complain about the characters magically getting their personal vehicles, as they do that all the time, in this case I think it's worth making an exception. One of the last things Michael says is, "Hey, I'll take this."
Some work, too. I'll take this.
Yeah.
In the cutscene, we see no evidence of Michael's vehicle being near Franklin's or around at all, so it really does seem as if he was gesturing at Franklin's vehicle, but we later find Franklin driving it, not Michael. In fact, in the cutscene we hear doors open and close in a way that would seem to indicate that both Franklin and Michael got into that one vehicle. Using mods, we can confirm that this is exactly what happened. Michael got into the driver's seat and Franklin in the passenger seat. Therefore, finding Michael moments later in his vehicle and Franklin driving his own is inconsistent with the cutscene. Along with this, Franklin's dialogue is actually not suitable for this version of the heist.
Nukes? Man, that dude is loco.
No one mentions anything about nukes in the freighter version of the heist. They are only referenced in the offshore version, and it's actually Franklin who brings them up.
Stealing a super weapon to sell to the Chinese.
Damn, T. This some nuke or some shit?
On the freighter version, not even Franklin brings them up.
When you try and steal an experimental super weapon and sell it to the Chinese, you and everyone you ever knew is gonna be fucked in the ass.
A super weapon? The Chinese? What?
What you think is in there?
We do know this mission went through some changes during development, so I suspect the character switches just became a bit disconnected from the mission during this. On the Merriweather offshore approach, Michael flies Franklin and Trevor out to sea so Trevor can go down in the submersible to pick up the device before they all fly back to Trevor's airfield. As we finish this version with Trevor as well, Michael and Franklin should both have unique switches. And in the mission we last see them both driving off together.
You won't be seeing me back here in a long time.
Man, I thought I was done not getting paid for these licks.
Ah, Trevor, you are a weapons-grade moron.
Surprisingly, this is another instance where Franklin does not get a unique switch, instead he gets a generic switch in the city. Michael's switch shows him returning to his home nearby, which makes sense, and you could imagine he dropped off Franklin earlier, somewhere in the city, which is why he's no longer in the car. Franklin's lack of a unique switch could have come from the mission changes I mentioned earlier, or maybe Rockstar just didn't think it important to specify where he was dropped off. Hotel Assassination is the only assassination mission that you need to complete in order to beat the game, and for the purposes of this video, it's quite different from the missions discussed so far. As it just involves one main character, that being Franklin, there are no unique switch scenes that occur directly after the mission by switching to other characters. Completing the mission, however, does unlock a unique switch scene for Franklin. The very next time we switch to him, we get the unique scene of him moving into his new home.
Man, are you serious? This motherfucker is fly.
Glad you like it. As I told you, it's yours.
Are you seriously serious?
For the 5th time, yes. But I gotta go. I'll be in touch about our little venture.
Man, good looking. Yeah. This motherfucker. Woo.
This switch and the conversation is a continuation of the one that happens after the assassination mission itself.
Our investment portfolio is getting a little, successful, so I figured we needed some tangible assets, property. So we bought a house in the Vinewood Hills. And we needed someone to live there for tax purposes, so some guys are moving your stuff in.
Oh, shit. Man, I don't know what the fuck to say, dawg.
While the switch scene is fine, as it does continue on from the prior conversation, I don't think the story very well justifies why Lester is giving Franklin a home worth millions of dollars. I mean, hell, I think this house is worth more money than Michael's house, and Michael's house was the culmination of his entire criminal career. Lester clearly does not need Franklin to live there for investment or tax reasons, he is just being kind to Franklin. But it just isn't very clear why. It is certainly true that Franklin and Lester become friendly throughout the story.
Frankie! Lester needs a drink!
But in this case, Lester only gave Franklin $9,000 for this assassination, despite saying that he knows that Franklin needs money.
I know you need money.
In that same conversation, Lester also refers to Franklin as a paid thug multiple times.
Aren't you just a moral majority? You know, that's why the world is the way it is today, when a paid thug gets all namby-pamby when someone asks him to act like a paid thug, and for a good cause.
Man, check this out, homie. I like blowing motherfucking fools' heads off just as much as the next psychotic asshole.
They also had only one prior interaction, which was the jewel store job. Franklin did prove himself and therefore exceed Lester's expectations in the heist, and Michael does speak highly of him, but does that really justify a multi-million-dollar house? I think on occasion Lester does show that he cares about people and wants to help them out.
Brett Lowry, CEO of Bilkington Research, paid off the FDA, and he doesn't care that his hardness pills are giving desperate middle-aged men the world over heart attacks.
Damn, man, that sucks.
Yeah, it does. You know, we'll fix the market in our favor and we'll right a few wrongs while we're at it.
So you could just assume Lester looked into Franklin's life and wanted to help him because of his bad circumstances, but I feel like the story would have benefited if we had seen more of the two interacting before this point. It just feels like a huge jump going from nothing to multi-million-dollar house. The Blitz Play intro sees Michael, Franklin, and Trevor get instructed by Dave and Steve to perform a robbery of some bearer bonds from a security truck. The scene finishes with us controlling Trevor, giving Michael and Franklin a unique switch. We last see Franklin walking off to his bike to leave.
If and motherfucking when.
I will keep my eyes peeled, General.
And Michael is left talking to himself sitting on a box.
Thank you, Michael. Hey, no problem. No, really. It's never gonna end, is it?
Fuck those dudes.
I think the only noteworthy thing here is that Franklin walking away in the cutscene shows him not walking towards his bike for some reason, and somehow within 8 seconds, he gets on his bike and far enough away that we can't see him moments later. Outside of this, these switches are fine. Both Franklin and Michael are in the general area of where the meeting took place, and Michael expressing that he's tired of being pushed around, and Franklin stating he doesn't like Dave and Steve, both make sense. Blitz Play itself sees all three characters rob the security truck. They take the bearer bonds so Michael can give them to Devin Weston, as they were instructed to by Steve. As we finish with Michael, both Franklin and Trevor should have unique switch scenes. The last time we saw Franklin, he was driving off in the getaway car, and while we don't see Trevor, he does inform us that he is leaving the scene of the shootout.
I'm on the move!
Hey man, shit, you look after yourself, dog, alright? Man, one of these days I gotta get paid.
Trevor surprisingly doesn't get a unique switch. In the code it simply says, Trevor anywhere in city, but switch that does not imply too much time has passed. While not a unique switch, I guess this does make sense, as we did just leave him in the city and we don't know exactly how he left the area. Whether or not Franklin's location makes sense largely depends on where you put the getaway car, but it is good enough. Franklin's dialogue is uninteresting, as it's just a complaint that he makes a lot around this time of the game.
Man, I thought I was done not getting paid for these licks.
Honestly, I don't think Franklin's complaints are really justified. Not too long ago, he said this to Michael.
I got so many stories I can't even keep them straight. I'm full of shit.
Yeah, but your full of shit got me a lot of paper. One score with you, I made more money than I ever did hustling.
And the first assassination mission has to be done before Blitzplay. So he did just receive 9 grand and access to a house worth many millions of dollars. It is certainly the case that some of the other jobs he's done with Michael haven't given him any money, but it's not like he's worse off due to the association. He's now living in a house even better than his mentors. The mission I Fought the Law involves all 3 characters working together to steal 2 cars for Devin Weston via a street race. As we finish with Michael, Franklin and Trevor have unique switches, and we last see the 2 walking out the garage together after their talk with Devin.
Bye-bye, gentlemen, and stay spiritual. Oh, and Michael, I'll be in touch about your friend, Solomon.
All right, good.
Man, when am I gonna get a paycheck for one of these licks?
Stay spiritual. I hope he believes in an afterlife.
The location of both characters is fine, especially as a fade to black just occurred before with Michael changing his clothes, which implies time passing, allowing Franklin and Trevor time to walk to different parts of the city. It is a bit weird that emphasis was placed on Michael getting changed, whilst Trevor just magically has a different outfit, but I think Trevor would be perfectly willing to get changed in the middle of the street. I'm a bit disappointed with Franklin's dialogue here. Could Rockstar seriously not come up with anything else for him to say? Franklin says some variation of, "When am I gonna get paid?" way too many times. At least Trevor's dialogue does reference something Devin Weston said in the final cutscene.
Bye-bye, gentlemen, and stay spiritual.
Stay spiritual. I hope he believes in an afterlife.
Trevor's lines also work to reinforce that he does not like Devin Weston, and they even somewhat foreshadow ending C.
Wait, hear me out!
No more talking.
The mission Eye in the Sky sees Trevor and Franklin team up to steal another vehicle, with Trevor providing support from above and Franklin on the ground. As we finish with Franklin, Trevor has a unique switch, and we last see him as a passenger in a helicopter being flown by a pilot.
This better be the guy.
I hope it was a soft landing.
While it's not obvious, it does actually make sense for Trevor to be in this location. It seems as though the pilot was flying the helicopter back to the police station where Trevor got it from. And while we don't see it, Trevor's dialogue does suggest that he knocked the pilot out rather than giving up the helicopter. While this footage is not in the game, we do actually get to see this scene as a part of Trevor's trailer that Rockstar released.
I hope it was a soft landing.
This should not have been a surprise to the pilots because Trevor admits that's exactly what he's going to do.
Hey, buddy, look, I got a confession, okay? I'm not an actor, or a writer, or the son of a bigwig. I'm a criminal, and your boss has kind of sold you to me. Sold me? I'm afraid so. Like chattel. Huh? Now we got that clear, you need to know we're looking for a high-value automobile. Once we find it, my guy in the ground will jack it, and we're gravy. So, and then what's happening? And then? Spoiler alert, kid. We killed a witness. Yikes. Me? Don't sweat, the dying ain't the hard part. The hard part is the ground you're hitting at terminal velocity.
The mission card Libre sees Trevor and Michael help out Martin by shooting down a plane, killing his cousin, and taking back some files, with the mission concluding with Trevor kidnapping Patricia, Madrazo's wife.
But I did kidnap his wife.
Oh no! Oh shit!
This mission is very unique, as while we end the mission controlling Michael, we do not gain control of the character. Instead, we are forced to switch immediately to Franklin, who is always in the exact same place, playing with Chop.
Come on.
Michael and Trevor do not get unique switches. In fact, you can't switch from Franklin to them at all because they are considered to be hiding out from Martin Madrazo. However, if you look in the game files, you can see that Trevor and Michael actually did have unique switches, they were just cut from the game. These switch scenes suggest that originally Patricia was going to be kept in this building. Perhaps she would have been permanently kept here, or maybe just for a short duration before being taken to Trevor's trailer, which is where she stays in the release version.
You are a good man. I can see that.
You need your eyes examined then.
None of this is really a surprise, as we know this part of the game experienced big changes during development, as Franklin was originally to be involved, and an entire heist was cut from this part of the game, that being the Shah Musa job. So all of this likely explains this mission's irregularities.
Okay, I'll let you boys take her for a test drive as soon as you leave your deposit.
On the mission Polito score setup, Michael, Trevor, and Lester go to scope out the Polito bank. As we finish with Trevor, Michael should have a unique switch. However, the game restricts your ability to switch at all until you get a phone call from Franklin. This phone call then alerts us to switch to Franklin to start the mission Predator. If instead we switch to Michael, he just receives a generic switch. I think it's safe to say that Michael's lack of unique switch is likely caused by the phone call, as we technically can't switch after Polito score setup. Michael doesn't get a unique switch associated with this.
Hey, look, there's these redneck dudes been looking for you, homie.
Well, it's gotta be the O'Neill brothers. What's left of them? I'll pick up Michael and we'll come to you.
On the mission Predator, Franklin, Chop, Michael, and Trevor team up to take out some O'Neills in the woods. As we finish with Trevor, Michael and Franklin have unique switches. We last see the two driving off together with Chop.
Hey, Trev, man, we gonna borrow this and head back to town.
Sure.
Come on, Michael, man. I'll drop your ass off on the way back. Chop, get in.
See you back at Castle Phillips, Mike.
Yeah, thanks for the warning.
Who's a good boy?
Franklin's location makes sense as he's just driving back to his home in Los Santos, but his dialogue doesn't really tie into the mission at all. Instead, he's just speaking to Chop, who has relocated from the backseat to the front to replace Michael. While Michael's dialogue is lacking, it does make sense he'd be at Trevor's trailer, as that is after all ways hiding out from Martin Madrazo.
Oh shit!
And Franklin did say he'd drop him off, so I guess this is where.
Come on, Michael, man. I'll drop your ass off on the way back.
On the Polito score, Trevor, Michael, and Franklin team up to rob the Polito bank.
Sweet mother shit.
As we finish the mission controlling Michael, Franklin and Trevor should have unique switches.
Come on, Franklin.
We last see them driving off together in a utility van, which was likely set up by Agent Sanchez, given that we know the FIB uses utility vehicles of local businesses in their operations.
Back to fucking civilization.
Trevor strangely does not have a unique switch, and we can't even suggest, as we did before, that the reason for this is that we're meant to assume that he was dropped off earlier because Trevor was the one driving and he dropped off Franklin. Perhaps this lack of unique switch is due to the changes that were made to the Polito score, as it was originally going to be very different and have two approaches. At least for Franklin's switch, where he's driving to and his dialogue do make sense, as he does go back to Los Santos after each one of his adventures in Blaine County. However, there are some other oddities with the switches at the end of this mission. If at the end of the Polito score you don't switch to either Franklin or Trevor, and instead directly go into Derailed and finish the mission, if you then switch to Franklin, he will be driving the utility van. Despite that, again, he doesn't drive it when leaving the Polito score. Another oddity occurs if you keep the utility van in your line of sight, as when you switch to Trevor or Franklin, you will find them still in the utility van, rather than getting the switches that they're meant to. To give my honest opinion, I think everything about the end of the Polito score was haphazardly thrown together. Hell, even the train in the cutscene is facing an impossible direction, and after the cutscene it magically flips and drives back in the correct direction. On the mission Derailed, Michael and Trevor derail a train to steal an idol to give to Martin Madrazo to get him off their back. As we finish with Trevor, only Michael should have a unique switch, but surprisingly Franklin also has a unique switch despite not being in the mission. We last see Michael driving off in a getaway car set up by Ron, and we of course don't see Franklin in this mission.
Lester better play it right with that idol.
Agent Steve Haynes, man.
Michael's location and dialogue make sense, as he just seems to be up the road and he comments on the idol that he just acquired. Franklin's unique switch is more interesting to me, and not just because he's not meant to have one. We find Franklin very close to the next mission, Monkey Business, and what spawns this mission is the phone call at the end of Derailed between Steve, Michael, and Trevor.
I need your whole crew over at Cape Catfish. We're moving on the chemical weapons plant. We got the equipment with your Polito money. The gangbangers already on the way.
So unlike Michael's unique switch, Franklin's unique switch isn't technically connected to the mission Derailed, it is instead connected to the phone call after it. As you heard, it references a conversation we never get to hear between Steve and Franklin, where Franklin was told previously to go to the next mission. I honestly don't think it makes sense for Steve to have called Franklin first, but I think this is just patching together changed and cut content. On the mission Monkey Business, the gang goes with Steve and Dave to steal a nerve toxin, and the mission concludes with Trevor returning Patricia to Martin.
You better treat her right, man! I will, amigo!
As we end the mission with Trevor, Michael and Franklin should have unique switches, and we last see them at Trevor's airfield discussing Michael's plans to go back to Los Santos.
My days in the wilderness are over. I can't wait to get back to that movie studio.
Yo, alright, man. Well, shit, I'll holler at you later then, alright?
What a shit show. Take it easy.
Man, I better get a government pension for this shit.
Michael oddly does not have a unique switch, however in the game's files he does have a deleted one that showcases him halfway back to Los Santos, although it has no dialogue. Franklin's switch makes sense. He's on his way back to Los Santos, and he jokes that he may as well be a government employee, given how much he's worked for Steve and Dave. Michael not having a unique switch is likely just a manifestation of all the cut content from this mission, as the final half of the mission was entirely removed before release. On the mission Surveying the Score, the gang scopes out potential options to pull off the big score. This is one of the rare cases where we can choose who to end the mission with. If we end with Michael, Trevor and Franklin should each have a unique switch. If we end with Trevor, Michael and Franklin instead should have one. We last see Michael and Franklin driving back to Franklin's house, and we last see Trevor with Lester flying back to the airfield.
One more job and you're out. And this time you really are.
Crazy.
Franklin doesn't have a unique switch, he instead just gets a generic one at his house, which makes sense as that is where Michael just dropped him off. Although the lack of a unique switch also could relate to the possibility that Franklin was originally able to end the mission. Evidence of this can be seen when you fail 3 times to use the mission skip feature. Once it is used to skip the final part of the mission, we end as Franklin, which is normally not possible. Michael's location and dialogue does make sense, as he is just down the road from Franklin's, where he dropped him off, and he is expressing his desire to finally retire after the big score.
We're gonna do this last big job, and then we're gonna dissolve the partnership.
Trevor's switch is a bit more strange. His location of course makes sense, however if you look closely, you can see Trevor spawns in too early and walks in place for a few seconds prior to us gaining control. Also his dialogue doesn't relate at all to the prior mission, and it's so generic that I think it's possible that his original dialogue was removed and this used instead.
Crazy.
I theorized that it was originally planned for Trevor to drop off Lester somewhere other than Trevor's airfield, in the same way Michael drops off Franklin at his house. What supports this idea is first that it's fairly weird that Lester is just dropped off at the airfield, given that Lester cannot drive himself back to Los Santos due to his illness. Secondly, in the game's files, there was a lot of cut dialogue between Trevor and Lester for this mission, which could have hypothetically been used on a different route when dropping Lester off. While I obviously can't say for certain, it is possible that Trevor's switch dialogue originally referenced this cut content, and so it too was changed.
You've written your company name on the side of the chopper. The cops won't have trouble finding us if this goes wrong. Hey, bro, I got a secret. It's not a real company. We're not registered. We don't pay tax. Hey, I change the name when it suits me. Still, that's a stupid thing to do. What happened to our newfound mutual respect? I respect you enough to be honest.
While the mission Bury the Hatchet does have 2 characters in it, as Michael and Trevor obviously confront each other in North Yankton, as Michael is kidnapped during the mission, at the end you cannot switch to him, so this mission does not have any unique switches. The mission Pac-Man sees Lamar, Franklin and Trevor deliver the stolen cars to Molly and not get paid. As we end with Franklin, Trevor has a unique switch, and we last see him driving the trailer with the stolen vehicles.
Lester Crest, I'm amazed you're still with us.
Just barely. Look, Franklin needs to see you. He had some trouble securing payment on that last deal. He needs to find Michael.
Oh, look, I don't know nothing about that, but if he had trouble getting payment, that's my problem too. I mean, I took half those cars.
Fine, whatever. Just tell him you don't know where Michael is, but do it in person. He'll be at his old place on Forum.
This is the only instance where we're not only given a unique switch, but also a phone call along with it. Trevor's location makes sense as it's just down the road from where we last saw him, and the phone call naturally continues from the end of Pac-Man and the forced phone call that Franklin has with Lester.
Franklin! Hey look, you seen Michael? Man, the contact he set me up with is holding out on the payment, dawg. Shit, he could be in trouble, huh?
I don't know, but it's worth speaking to Trevor. Most likely he was with him in the Midwest. I'll get him to come see you.
Look, send him to my aunt's crib, alright?
On the mission Fresh Meat, Trevor hints that Michael has been kidnapped by the Chinese gangsters, leading Franklin to go rescue him. As we finish with Michael, Franklin and Trevor should have unique switches. We last see Trevor walking away from Franklin's old home.
What was that?
What?
What was that?
Nothing.
Ah! Asshole! Everybody! Assholes!
And we last see Franklin walking away from Michael's house.
Sure you don't want to come in?
What, your big empty-ass house? Dog, I'm depressed enough already.
All right. Well, listen, thanks.
In this case, neither Trevor nor Franklin get a unique switch, but it's pretty obvious why. The ending of Fresh Meat suggests that a long time passes before we get control of Michael. Not only is there a long fade to black, but Michael also has time to get changed and clean himself up before we get control. Understandably, at that point, the other two characters could be literally anywhere in the city. The mission cleaning out the bureau sees Lester and Michael track down a janitor before going to meet with Franklin at the garment factory. Franklin has a unique switch, and we last see him being told by Michael to tail an architect for his building plans.
Franklin, you go tell him for a little while and then we'll talk.
All right, dog, I got you. Find the architect? How am I still doing the grunt work?
While arguably he's a bit far away from where we last saw him, it does make sense that he would still be in the city, and Franklin's dialogue does both reference the prior mission, as well as his desires to be made a more equal partner, as he expressed on the mission surveying the score.
Hey man, you might not notice it, but I picked up a few things rolling with you. I mean, there's times I think I gotta be the senior partner in the group, from the way you and Trevor behave.
The mission architect plans sees Franklin tail an architect, take his plans, and then with Lester and Michael, devise a plan to break into the FIB building. Despite that the mission is entirely played as Franklin, we do end the mission as Michael, which gives Franklin a unique switch, and we last see him leaving the garment factory.
I'll make the arrangements and call you when we're ready.
All right, shit, hit me. Robbing the FIB? Man, we stupid.
The guy is literally just outside the garment factory, and the dialogue references the heist he was just planning moments ago. A+. The fire truck prep for the Bureau raid can be done with Michael or Franklin. However, regardless of who you choose, only one character appears in the setup. If you do the setup with Franklin, as it should be, Michael doesn't have a unique switch. However, if you do the setup as Michael, Franklin does have a unique switch.
Oh man, what have I gotten myself into?
I have absolutely no idea why this unique switch exists. At the very least, his location and dialogue seem more suited to coming after the mission architect plans. He is, after all, just up the road from Lester's, and his dialogue could refer to the recent plan to break into the FIB building. As you're soon going to see, this is not the only time that Franklin inexplicably gets a unique switch, despite not appearing in the mission prior. The fire truck approach to the Bureau raid sees Franklin and Michael break into the FIB building while dressed as firemen. They steal some files and then meet up with Lester at his house to celebrate. As we finish with Michael, Franklin has a unique switch, and we last see Franklin about to drink with Lester at his home.
Enjoy the incest juice.
Man, you boys sure know how to put the fun back in midlife crisis.
Frankly, this switch scene is awful. While it is appropriately near Lester's home, not only does he say nothing, but the last time we saw Franklin he was about to smoke weed and drink moonshine, so we should see some evidence of that. Throughout the game it's suggested that Franklin has a high resistance to alcohol and drugs. It's even used as a joke in one instance.
Man, this seems a little dry.
Can't you see the aliens?
Man, what else are you taking? Man, this shit is garbage.
Therefore, it would have been a good opportunity for this switch scene to have us find Franklin actually knocked out on his ass from his experiences with Lester. A subversion of expectations would have been funny. If not that, it would have been nice to switch to Franklin and he'd still be at Lester's house partying. But unfortunately, GT5 doesn't traditionally keep interiors loaded to have characters in them. On the roof approach to the Bureau raid, Michael and Franklin parachute to the FIB building, delete some files, and then meet up with Lester to celebrate. As we finish with Michael, Franklin gets a unique switch, and we last see him about to start drinking with Lester.
Frankie! Lester needs a drink!
I have all the same complaints as the previous approach, but with the added issue that Lester is immediately gone. It would have been more amusing if Lester was passed out on the floor. Honestly, I think the lack of dialogue for the last two switches suggests that they were changed late in development, so they had no good dialogue to use. On the mission The Wrap Up, Michael gets caught up in a fight between the various factions of the government, Trevor arrives to save him, and they both meet up afterwards. As we finish the mission with Michael, just Trevor should have a unique switch, but surprisingly, Franklin has one as well, despite not being involved in the mission. We last see Trevor walking off and vaguely threatening Michael, and we of course don't see Franklin.
Don't forget, amigo. Keeping my eye on you. Oh, Michael, what would you do without me?
Trevor is still on foot just down the road from where he left Michael, and he directly references that he saved him in the prior mission, so all this is perfect. Franklin says nothing, and the only guess I have for why Rockstar made him consistently spawn here after the wrap-up is that Lamar Down is the only main mission available at this point, and so they probably wanted Franklin to be close to his house where it starts. They likely concluded correctly that the player wouldn't appreciate Franklin spawning on the beach in one of his generic switches, and therefore having to drive from the beach to Franklin's house, then out to the lumberyard, and then back to Lamar's house. On the mission Lamar Down, Franklin, Trevor, and Michael go to the lumberyard to save Lamar from the boulders. As we finish with Franklin, Trevor and Michael have unique switches, and we last see them both at the lumberyard as we drive off with Lamar.
Couldn't they have popped him in the suburbs?
If you go down in the woods today, you're in for a big surprise.
It makes sense that Michael would be driving home, and his complaint referencing that the ballers attempted to kill Lamar so far from the city is pretty funny, given that this is probably what some players thought during the mission. It also makes sense that Trevor is driving back to his home, and his little jingle does seemingly reference the shootout in the woods in the prior mission, so both of these are A+. On the mission Planning the Big Score, the gang plans the big score. As we finish the mission with Michael, Trevor and Franklin have unique switches, and we last see them leaving the planning room.
I think it could work. It will work, as long as we're ready to move now. Come on, I'll take you to the equipment.
Fucking asshole.
We got a lot to do.
What did I have to get?
Both characters are just outside the strip club and reference that they need to acquire some gear for the heist they were just talking about in the prior mission, A+. The mission Sidetracked can be started with either Franklin, Michael, or Trevor, and involves stealing a train and carriage to set up for the obvious big score heist. We can end the mission as either Trevor or Michael, and what the characters do, or if they're even in the mission, depends on who you start with. To cut to the chase, there are no unique switches associated with this mission, likely because of the inconsistency in the mission itself. On the mission The Big Score Obvious Approach, the gang robs the Union Depository by drilling through a wall, picking up the gold, dropping it onto a train, and then gathering at Mackenzie Field. As we end the mission with Franklin, Trevor and Michael have unique switches. We last see Franklin stating he's going to leave with the car, and Michael and Trevor get into the helicopter to help Lester.
Hey, look, man, I'm gonna get the car up out of here, all right?
All right.
Hey, I'm gonna need some help getting the metal in storage for a few days before I can sell it.
Both of us?
Yes, both of you.
Well, I never have to see him again.
Mike, Merriweather, they're all against me.
Michael's location is a bit strange, given that he flew off from Mackenzie Field in a chopper, there was a fade to black, and now he is back next to Mackenzie Field. Franklin had already taken the car that he arrived in, and there wasn't another one on the runway, so what possible business could he have had in the area? Why would he return? I suppose given that they flew off in Trevor's helicopter, Trevor could have dropped him off here on his way to Sandy Shores Airfield, but dropping him off at the rendezvous point for their prior heist is still kinda strange. At least his dialogue does make sense, as it was established in the prior missions that the big score was the last thing Mike would do with Trevor before they would go their separate ways.
One last score.
One thing that conflicts with this explanation is that when you use mods, you can see that Michael does not actually fly off with Trevor. He gets teleported into the blue helicopter and he flies that instead. We were obviously never meant to see this, so this may have just been what happened in an earlier version of the cutscene, or maybe they just needed to move the model off screen. There's no way for us to know. Trevor's switch scene seems to be a copy of the one after surveying the score. It even includes the same animation issue. I guess we can assume that given Trevor left the Mackenzie airfield in his helicopter, that after he was done with Lester, he simply flew the helicopter back to Sandy Shores Airfield in the same way that he did at the end of surveying the score. That being said, this is the only example where Rockstar lazily copied a unique switch from another mission. Trevor's dialogue is also very generic.
Mike, Merriweather, they're all against me.
It does not reference anything specifically with the prior mission. In fact, Merriweather only showed up for a small bit at the end of the heist, and Trevor just got done telling Michael that they're good.
We did it! We did it! We fucking did it!
We are good. All right?
Wow. You are one serious fucking buzzkill.
Perhaps the end of the mission, or at least these switch scenes, saw some last minute changes before release. On the big score subtle approach, Michael, Franklin, and Trevor trick the Union Depository into giving them gold, take it away with custom vehicles, and meet up at Michael's house to celebrate. As we end with Franklin, Michael and Trevor should have unique switches, and we last see all three concluding an argument at Michael's.
You all are assholes. Man, I gotta go calm down, homie. This shit was real illuminating.
Franklin, I'm sorry. Come on back, have a beer or something.
The metal! They're in on it. Ugh.
Michael doesn't actually have a unique switch here, and so receives any of his switches in Los Santos. Perhaps this is because the mission ended at his house, so arguably he didn't have anywhere specific to go. Trevor's location is a bit strange, as he's just down the road from Michael's house. The mission ends with a fade to black, and sufficient time passes to allow Franklin to ride his bike all the way up the freeway. If Trevor and Franklin left at the same time, Trevor should be much further away. Therefore, I guess we can assume that he spent more time arguing with Lester and Michael after Franklin left. Technically, during the cutscene, we don't see him make a move to immediately leave, so this explanation is plausible given what we're shown. What he says is appropriate, as it references his worries from the prior mission.
We're just leaving the goal.
Hey, T, have a little faith.
What? Faith? In you, buddy?
All right, in Lester, in the process. Come on, leave Lester alone.
Oh, you and Lester together? Oh, now that makes fucking sense. The metal! They're in on it! Ugh.
Ending A Something Sensible sees Franklin and Michael kill Trevor. We end as Franklin walking off into the credits, a heap of time passes, then we always see the same forced switch to Michael, with a generic switch scene of him waking up in his bed. Ending B, The Times Come, sees Franklin kill Michael. We end as Franklin walking off into the credits, a heap of time passes, then we always get the same force switch to Trevor, but we just received the generic switch of him waking up with some cows.
There were 6 cowboys in here a minute ago.
On ending C, The Third Way, Michael, Franklin, and Trevor take out all their enemies, concluding with pushing Devin Weston off a cliff. As this is the end of the game, we technically don't end the mission controlling anyone, and the only character that gets a unique switch is Trevor, who we're forced to switch to after the credits finish. Given how amazing and impactful all the final scenes of the game are, it makes sense that Rockstar wouldn't create unique switch scenes after the endings that would somehow compete with those scenes. Even this very boring one unique switch we do get with Trevor just seems to exist to put Trevor near the side mission Mrs. Phillips that spawns. All of you who got to the end of this video, thank you. It was a huge pain in the ass to put together. It has something like over 500 clips, and I know very few people actually get to the end. While making this video, I got the impression that the quality of the unique switch scenes just continued to decline over the course of the game. Regardless, thank you for watching, and I wish you all the best.